Alright, we finally made it to what is arguably one of the best sequels in the entire Halloween franchise, Halloween 4. We're gonna go over my best moments from Halloween 4, but first, if you can, hit that subscribe button and please hit the like button on this video, it helps a whole lot. Halloween 4 picks up 10 years after the events of Halloween 2 after Dr. Loomis blew up that surgical room at Haddonfield Memorial with himself and Michael Myers inside of it. 10 years later, we find that Laurie Strode has died. She has a daughter named Jamie, who is Michael Myers' niece. Michael Myers survived the blast, but he spent 10 years in a coma completely wrapped in bandages. That is until they attempt to transfer him on Halloween night because, of course, when else would you transfer Michael Myers other than Halloween night? Because that always works. During the transport in the ambulance, he finds out about Jamie Lloyd as one of the paramedics mentions her, and of course he comes back to life and escapes. This movie has a huge fan base. A lot of people believe that this is the best sequel in the entire franchise, and they might be right. So let's go over the top 10 moments of Halloween 4. So coming in at my number 10 spot is going to be when Dr. Loomis is at Penny's gas station, and he's looking for Michael Myers. He's searching throughout the garage and he finds the dead body hanging from a chain inside of the garage. He goes inside of the diner at Penny's gas station. He finds Michael Myers standing in the doorway looking back at him from across the diner. And this moment is super scary. He's completely wrapped in bandages on his head but wearing the mechanical suit from someone he killed inside of the shop. I feel like this actually could have worked for this movie if they decided not to go with a new Michael Myers mask. They actually could have had him wear these bandages through the whole movie and that would have worked. But of course it is Michael Myers, and what's Myers without the mask? But this made for a great scene because this is probably the most calm that we ever see Loomis throughout the next few movies. You know, if you've watched all the Halloween sequels, that Loomis becomes completely unhinged. But in this moment he's at his most calm. He's trying to reason with Michael and he's asking him to leave the people of Haddonfield alone, and if he wants another victim to just take Dr. Loomis.
Don't go to Haddonfield. You want another victim, take me.
Of course, Michael Myers is unresponsive. Loomis picks up the gun and takes a shot at him, and he's completely gone. Loomis goes outside looking for Michael, and Michael breaks out of the garage using a stolen pickup that somehow explodes the gas pumps just by driving by it, causing Loomis to get thrown over a couple of trash cans against the wall. And my number 9 spot is going to be when Michael Myers wakes up in the ambulance. This is when he's being transported from one facility to another, and the paramedics in the back of the ambulance are talking about the one remaining survivor of the family, which is Jamie Lloyd. When Michael Myers hears this, he comes out of his comatose state and kills the paramedics. It's one of the coolest kills in the entire film for sure. In my number 8 spot is going to be when Myers and Brady get into the fight toward the end of the film. Brady's trying to protect Rachel and Jamie from Myers in this moment. He's trying to load his shotgun, but Michael overpowers him and takes the shotgun away, throws it over the guardrail. Brady attempts to fight him off, but Michael overpowers him once again, completely crushing Brady's skull right in front of Rachel and Jamie. In my number 7 spot is going to be one of the opening scenes to Halloween 4, and this is when Jamie's imagining that Michael Myers is haunting her. Jamie gets down on her knees to say her prayers in front of her bed, and Michael reaches from under the bed and attempts to drag her under. Of course, Jamie gets away, but it's this next scene that's like one of the scariest and has haunted me for years throughout my childhood. And this is when he sits up from the side of the bed and there's this lightning flash, and that's like the first time you see that mask. And it's one of the scariest moments and one of the reasons they use it in so many commercials and trailers to promote this film. While Jamie's attempting to get away, the closet door opens up, and it turns out that Michael Myers is now in there holding the knife up above his head and attempting to attack Jamie. This leads to the next sequence, which is where you hear Jamie screaming and you see the Foster family running through the hallways trying to save her, and the entire time you find out that she was imagining the whole thing and she's actually inside of the closet clutching the box of pictures of her mother. In my number 6 spot is going to be when Dr. Loomis is attempting to tell Sheriff Meaker that Michael Myers is back in Haddonfield. One of the things I love about this is that, unlike Brackett, Meaker takes the threat very seriously. Dr. Loomis shows up at the Haddonfield police station looking for Sheriff Brackett. Of course, he finds out that Sheriff Brackett no longer works there and is retired and moved to St. Petersburg, Florida. Probably a bad mistake. Dr. Loomis finds out that Meaker is the new sheriff of Haddonfield. Sheriff Meaker is not very excited to see Dr. Loomis because he remembers the events 10 years prior. And in the beginning he starts to doubt Dr. Loomis, but then he realizes how serious Loomis is based on the way he's talking.
6 bodies! Sheriff, that's what I've seen between here and Richmond. A filling station in flames. I tell you, Michael Myers is here in this town. He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way.
Meaker takes the threat very seriously and decides to mobilize units and go out and look for Michael Myers. In my number 5 spot is a moment that happens pretty close to the end of the film, and that's when Myers faces the firing squad. Rachel had just run Michael over with the pickup truck, and for some reason Jamie goes over and leans over Michael Myers. And then of course Michael Myers sits up and then begins to stand up behind her. Meaker tells Jamie to duck, and then Michael faces the firing squad, causing him to fall back into some kind of hole or mine shaft, as we find out in Halloween 5. Yeah, we'll get there. The firing squad was obviously the next logical step because look at what he survived so far. In part 1, he was stabbed in the neck with a sewing needle. He was shot 6 times. In part 2, he was shot in both eyes and blown up. The next logical step would be the firing squad. In my number 4 spot is going to be the Kelly Meaker kill. This is when everyone has barricaded themselves into Meaker's house and they're waiting for Michael Myers to show up. Kelly Meaker decides to make a cup of coffee for some of the deputies that are looking over the house. Kelly Meaker brings a cup of coffee out to the deputy that's watching the front door. She's talking to him and mentioning MTV and so on, and she's realizing that he's not responding. Conveniently, a candle starts to get a little bit brighter and she finds him dead against the wall. Turns out Michael Myers was sitting in the chair that he should have been sitting in. Myers stands up with the shotgun and walks toward Kelly Meaker and pins her up to the door using the shotgun. You know, in the past we've seen him pin someone to a door using a knife, but we've never seen it with the shotgun. So pretty cool kill for this movie. In my number 3 spot is going to be the fight between Rachel and Michael inside of the pickup truck. Somehow Michael has managed to hang on to the back of this truck when they were out looking for him. He gets into the back of the truck, kills everyone, and then proceeds to try to get into the cabin of the truck to go after Rachel and Jamie. This leads to a great sequence where she's trying to sway the car back and forth and get Michael off of the car. She would eventually jam on the brakes, sending him flying a few feet out in front of the pickup, and when he stands up, she tries to run him over. This of course would lead up to the firing squad scene that I mentioned earlier. In my number 2 spot is going to be the rooftop chase scene. At this point in the movie, Michael has killed Brady, he's killed some of the deputies, he's killed Kelly Meaker. He's running through the house, taking out everyone. He finally makes his way to Rachel and Jamie in the attic of the Meaker house, and the only way out is up. So Rachel throws Jamie onto her back and they climb out the window and go up onto the roof of the Meaker house. Now they think they're safe up there, but of course Michael Myers finds his way onto the roof as well. And this to me is one of the better chase sequences in the entire franchise. And that to me is because it was something different. In Halloween 1, we saw the chase sequence of Laurie Strode running across the street and trying to get into the Doyle house. In Halloween 2, there's the chase sequence through the hallways of Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. Even in future sequels, they're just kind of the same, but this is the one that just kind of set it apart. There's nowhere to go. You're 2 stories up in the air on top of a roof. There's only one way down, so either he's going to get them and kill them or they're going to have to fall off this roof. So it just made for a very suspenseful scene and one of my favorite chase sequences in the franchise. And in my number 1 spot, I'm sure there's no surprise here, it's the very final scene of Halloween 4, and this is after Michael faced the firing squad. He should be dead. We get a first-person view of someone walking upstairs in the Carruthers house who, I guess they're trying to convince us that it's Michael and he's still alive. And then we see Jamie's foster mother get stabbed in the bathtub. Well, it turns out the whole time it was Jamie. So was she possessed by the evil? I mean, she's wearing the clown costume. She's got the scissors above her head. She's covered in blood. She stabbed her foster mother. At this point, Dr. Loomis becomes completely unhinged and attempts to actually shoot Jamie because he knows what evil this is. I'm sure in Dr. Loomis'S mind, he's watched Michael Myers grow up from a child who had done the very same thing. So now he's seeing the evil passed on to Jamie, and he knows he's going to have to kill her to prevent future events from happening. We would later learn in Halloween 5 that Dr. Loomis is now about as unhinged as we'll ever see him, but that's for the next video. Now, in my opinion, they could have actually ended the entire franchise right there and it would have been perfect. Michael Myers is dead. The evil's now passed on to Jamie. We never know what happens in the future, and that would have been a great ending to the entire franchise. Now, of course, as a Halloween fanatic, I'm never going to complain when we get more Michael Myers movies, but I wouldn't complain either if it stopped there. That would have been a great ending to the whole thing. So that does it for my best of Halloween 4. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What are your top 10 moments? And also, don't forget to subscribe and please hit the like button on this video. It helps way more than you realize.